The most effective response is not fear, and it's not forcing through it, though those are very common reactions in this type of situation. It's calibration. You learn where that edge is, and you gradually bump it forward. Are you ready to get back to what you love after knee replacement? The Total Knee Success Podcast is your trusted guide with practical tips, evidence-based strategies, and no fluff. It's not personal medical advice, just solid education to help you manage pain, regain mobility, and get back to living the life you love. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Total Knee Success Podcast. I'm Michelle. If you've had a knee replacement or you're preparing for one, there's a phrase that comes up often and it carries a lot of meaning for people. And that phrase is "you're cleared." Cleared to drive, cleared to travel, cleared to go back to work, cleared to go back to the gym, cleared to resume your life. There are a lot of things you might be cleared for after a knee replacement. By the end of this episode, you'll have a deeper, more grounded understanding of what cleared actually means, so you can make more informed decisions and continue building strength and function at a pace that fits where you are right now. Here's where it helps to pause for a moment and put that word into context. Your surgeon's milestones serve an important purpose. They're focused on safety and surgical success, things like a stable implant, a healed incision, and a knee that is medically safe to load. So when your surgeon tells you that you're cleared, that isn't casual language. It reflects careful monitoring of how the knee is healing and how your body is doing overall. At the same time, those milestones are not designed to describe the full biological recovery process. They don't tell you how your quadriceps will behave when you stand from a low chair. They don't predict how your knee will respond after a long day on your feet. They don't capture the difference between being able to do something once and being able to do it comfortably, repeatedly, and with enough reserve that it doesn't cost you the rest of your day. So if you've ever been told that you're cleared and then wondered why you still feel stiff, sometimes weak or swollen at times, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're comparing two different frameworks. Surgery focuses on biological safety and structural success. Rehabilitation focuses on capacity, tolerance, and rebuilding function over time. When surgeons use the word cleared, they're usually talking about thresholds. The incision is healed. There are no signs of infection. The implant is stable. The knee moves through a functional range. From a medical and surgical standpoint, those are big wins. They mean the foundation is solid. Rehabilitation is about what comes next. It's the difference between being able to walk and being able to walk all day. Between climbing a flight of stairs once and climbing stairs comfortably every time you need to. Between I can do this and I can do this without thinking about it, without bracing, and without paying for it later. This gap between clearance and comfort is a common source of frustration that I hear from people after knee replacement. Pain often improves earlier than strength, and that can make it seem like you're further along than your strength and tolerance actually are. Many people notice that their arthritic pain is dramatically better within the first several weeks. That improvement is real and meaningful. But pain relief does not automatically mean the neuromuscular system is caught up. When activity increases based on how much better the knee feels, swelling, stiffness, or fatigue, it can reappear. And that isn't a setback, it's information about where your current capacity is, and it's a normal part of rebuilding strength and tolerance after knee replacement. Neuromuscular recovery plays a central role here. In simple terms, this means your muscles and nervous system are still relearning how to work together after surgery. Quadriceps inhibition can persist long after the incision looks healed and the range of motion looks good on paper. Swelling inside the joint, a long history of pain-altered walking patterns, and protective movement habits all reduce how effectively the quadriceps fire. Large clinical cohorts have shown that meaningful strength and functional improvements continue well beyond typical outpatient discharge timelines, and that measurable deficits are still common months after surgery. More recent longitudinal analyses have extended this picture, showing that quadriceps strength and functional asymmetries often persist at 1 year and beyond, even in people who are otherwise doing really well in life. And this is one reason why many people say things like, "I'm cleared, but stairs still feel hard," or "I'm cleared, but getting up from a chair still feels kind of uneven." The clearance did not fail you. It simply wasn't designed to measure neuromuscular readiness. For some people in early recovery, neuromuscular electrical stimulation can help support quadriceps activation while voluntary strength is coming back online. We discussed this in detail in episode 40, including how and when it can be useful. This isn't something everyone absolutely needs, but for the right person at the right time, it can be a helpful bridge when strength is still coming back. Recent systematic reviews across joint replacement populations suggest that neuromuscular electrical stimulation, or NMES, when appropriately dosed and paired with active exercise, can modestly improve early strength and functional outcomes, while also highlighting that results vary widely depending on timing and implementation. But if that's a topic that you want to understand more deeply, I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 40. Another major piece that clearance does not capture well is load tolerance. After knee replacement, your knee is adapting to new forces. The joint capsule has been incised and repaired. Tendons are gradually adapting to transmit force again. Bone is remodeling around the implant as it responds to new loading patterns. Muscle tissue is rebuilding strength and endurance. And all of these processes occur gradually over months rather than weeks. And while they can feel slow while you're living it, it's also a reflection of how remarkable the human body is. Given the right conditions, time, movement, and thoughtful loading, it has an incredible capacity to heal, adapt, and rebuild. Being cleared means the structure is safe to load. It does not mean the tissues are finished adapting. And this is where the phrase "as tolerated" often creates a little bit of confusion. Medically, as tolerated means within safe limits, respecting pain, swelling, and common sense recovery guidelines. In real life, people often hear it as "go back to normal." And normal, especially if you've been limited for years before surgery, normal activity can exceed current tolerance very quickly. When swelling or stiffness shows up after a busy day, that usually means you've found the current edge of your tolerance. It does not automatically mean damage. It means the tissues were asked to do more than they are currently conditioned to handle comfortably. The most effective response is not fear, and it's not forcing through it, though those are very common reactions in this type of situation. It's calibration. You learn where that edge is, and you gradually bump it forward. I want to share a brief hypothetical example that illustrates this. Imagine a woman in her late 60s who is cleared at 6 weeks after knee replacement. She was thrilled. Her pain was much better, her incision looked great, and her surgeon told her she was cleared to increase activity as tolerated. Within a week, despite the general pacing recommendations she'd been given, she doubled her walking, started doing long shopping trips, and spent hours on her feet catching up on the housekeeping and other tasks she'd had avoided for years because she was dealing with progressively worsening knee pain. By the end of that week, her knee was swollen, stiff, and heavy. She went back in to see her physical therapist, worried that she had done something wrong or that she had damaged something inside of her knee. When they talked through her week together, it became clear that nothing she had done was unsafe. It was simply more than her current load tolerance at that stage of recovery. Together, they adjusted her plan. Activity was spread out more intentionally, strengthening stayed consistent, and recovery days were built in instead of all or nothing pushes. Within a few weeks, her swelling settled, her confidence improved, and she started feeling steadier rather than constantly reactive to her knee. The clearance didn't change. Her understanding of what to do with it did. Strength is the longest running part of recovery, and it's the piece that most often gets overlooked once formal physical therapy ends. Many people finish PT feeling functional and safe, but not fully strong. And that distinction is important because long-term knee health depends on strength reserve. Having more strength than daily activities require. Walking, standing, and stairs use only part of your available capacity, and without reserve, those everyday tasks consume a much larger share of your strength, leaving less margin for fatigue, balance challenges, unexpected demands, or longer days. This isn't a failure of therapy or of your effort. It reflects the reality that formal rehabilitation often ends before full strength and strength reserve are completely rebuilt. Muscle and tendon adaptation take time, and outpatient care often ends before that full strength is fully rebuilt. Research on tendon and muscle adaptation shows that meaningful structural and functional changes continue to occur over many months in response to progressive loading. A 2025 longitudinal systematic review, led by Orange and colleagues, extends this point by showing that strength gains after knee replacement are not purely time-dependent. They are strongly influenced by progressive resistance and how consistent loading applied after formal therapy ends is very important. That's why continued strengthening after formal PT is often essential for long-term success. Daily activity alone is rarely enough to rebuild lost strength. Purposeful, progressive resistance is what closes that gap. This is where I want to challenge a common assumption directly. If your PT visits have ended and your surgeon has cleared you, that does not mean you're supposed to stop training. It means we're intentionally building your agency, the skills and confidence to make informed decisions about how much to do, when to progress, and how to respond to your knee's signals as you move forward. You move from supervised rehab to self-directed progression, sometimes with periodic check-ins, sometimes independently. The muscles, tendons, bone, and connective tissue around your knee don't know whether insurance coverage has ended. They only respond to load, recovery, and consistency. So instead of asking, "Am I done healing?" a more useful question might be, "What am I building right now?" Early on, you're building safety, motion, and basic function. In the middle phase, you're building capacity, strength, endurance, balance, and confidence. Later, you're building performance for your life, the ability to do what's meaningful to you, repeatedly, without your knee running or ruining every decision you make. You are the one making these decisions now, using the awareness, strength, and confidence you've been building throughout recovery. Being cleared is permission to progress, not pressure to perform. If you use clearance as a finish line, recovery might stall, or you might feel disappointed once the early wins fade. If you use it as a doorway, it marks the start of a phase where you actively build strength, confidence, and capacity for the long term. Looking ahead to episode 45, we'll talk about what happens when progress slows, why that phase is expected, and how to stay engaged even when improvement feels less dramatic. If you're preparing for knee replacement and want a clear, grounded way to build on what you're learning here and use the weeks before surgery to set yourself up for a smoother recovery, my upcoming book, The Total Knee Replacement Game Plan, walks you through exactly how to do that. And it's educational in nature and meant to complement your learning and not replace the guidance of your healthcare team. We discuss how to go into surgery informed, not overwhelmed. You can click the link in the show notes to get notified when the book is released. And remember, clearance from your surgeon is all about being medically safe, while strength, capacity, and confidence are still being built. Keep showing up for that work, because the effort you put in now is what supports how strong, steady, and capable you feel in the months and years ahead. I'm Michelle, and this has been the Total Knee Success Podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only. Discover more at totalkneesuccess.com, and be sure to subscribe and share, because every step forward takes you closer to living the life you love.